All right. The time is now 6 o'clock, and the Tuesday, April 28th, 2026, Kingsport City Schools Board of Education special called meeting is now called to order. At this time, this is the time when members of the audience are invited to comment on items listed on the agenda and matters that are germane to the school board's jurisdiction. If an individual wishes to address the board, he or she shall sign up on the form provided before the beginning of the board meeting to request time to speak. The board president shall have the authority to terminate the remarks of any individual who violates state law or does not adhere to board rules. Each speaker's remarks shall be limited to 3 minutes, with the public comment period lasting no more than 30 minutes in total, unless the board waives the limits upon considering a request for extension made prior to the president's announcement for public input. All comments become a matter of public record. Comments regarding system personnel or personnel matters are not germane during the public input. Speakers may not refer to students by name without permission from a parent or guardian. Speakers are requested to first state your name and limit your remarks to a maximum of 3 minutes. Anybody wishing to speak? Seeing none, we'll move on to our one business item, item 3.1. Dr. True, Mr. Nash, Ms. Kinch, Mr. Smith, Mr. Arnold.
See, you were last.
There's a presentation.
I appreciate it. I would hustle a little more if I knew that was the case.
This may set a record for the number of people at the table at one night. Thank you all very much for the opportunity to have a called meeting and for us to present to you. We are really coming up as a team that has looked at this as far as a way that we can meet our needs as a district, make improvements, and always think about how we communicate with families and how we can positively impact. And so this really, the discussion we're going to have tonight, requesting really permission to pursue an agreement with Parent Square, is a result of, I would say, literally years worth of conversation that we've had to identify concerns that we had, issues that we wanted to address in the way that we are able to communicate and interact with families. And so we are coming to you tonight with a recommendation and a request to approve an agreement with Parent Square. Let me make sure I can drive this. So those of us with you here tonight, really the team that has been looking at this at a district level, we're bringing you this as a collective, really a recommendation. What Parent Square is, it's really an all-in-one platform to be able to communicate with our families and our students in a way that will, right now, in a lot of different platforms and a lot of different products are being used across the district in the way we communicate, and really not meeting the needs that we have as a district. And so Parent Square, what it does is puts everything under one umbrella. And so when you think about all the different platforms that you as parents may experience or that you've experienced over the years, what this says, it will kind of bring it all into one place, which we think will be much more convenient for families. It addresses concerns that we have in the way that adults are communicating with students, which we'll talk about. It allows us to make some really, I think, some needed improvements in our attendance tracking and communications and the way we deal kind of and support that. And so really it answers a lot of questions. It checks a lot of boxes. We've done a lot of research on some different products, and this is really where we're landing. So it comes down to really 4 key problems, I think, over time that we've looked at when it comes to what are our communication platforms and how do we communicate with our families. And so really the 4 that we want to talk about tonight are the way that Parent Square will unify the pathway in the way district communicates with students and families. We want to talk about a secure portal in how that communication takes place. We want to talk about how we can address the needs of families by having translations to preferred language. And one of the key features of this is really how it will support our attendance processes and supports. And again, Matthew's going to speak about that. So all of us are going to kind of jump in as we go through this. Please feel free to ask questions as we go. But again, these key features of Parent Square really do things that other products that we looked at don't, kind of in one place. And so this would allow us over, the agreement is for 3 years, to phase in and really be able to utilize this across the board in addressing those 4 key needs. So compared to what we have now, really our biggest platform that we use for mass communications is School Messenger, which has served us well. But you can kind of see here a comparison when you think about what School Messenger does and what it doesn't do. That's really what has driven us to look for other options over the last several years of what is a product that will meet all of these needs, that will allow us to have not only what we currently use for mass communication, text, phone, email, but also how can we present our information in a way that is customizable on the user end, on the family end, whether it's anything from how is it translated, so that it'll translate in Parent Square will translate in a way that School Messenger will not. It allows us to bring everything, like I say, into one, so a family's not having to subscribe to Class Dojo and Remind and athletics apps that are out there. Parent Square can be the one place that a parent will be able to unify that together. Yes, sir.
Do you want me to hold all my questions, or do you want me to ask as we go?
Now, that's fine.
So you said can. Does that mean those things are going to go away?
That is really, yes, that's our expectation at the district, is that we will have one product, Parent Square.
I know it's your
that will be
expectation.
used.
Are teachers going to honor this? Because we've tried this before. Is it going to be a requirement that they must drop other apps and
That is
must? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
That is why we're going this route. We hear loud and clear from parents that they're having to get various pieces of information from various places. So
And we've talked to key stakeholders. Dr. True has, athletic directors. Thank you. Athletic directors, Mr. Cook with the band. We've talked to principals. We discussed this in a principals leadership team meeting earlier this year. So we have buy-in. It will be some adjustment for sure. But we definitely have buy-in. And to answer your question, Mr. Golden, absolutely, to be a requirement.
So band app is going away?
yes.
Okay. Every single app that is not this is going away.
This will be the district way that we will communicate with families.
Because I'm going to go home, my wife's going to give me an earful when she hears this, and I need to be able to answer those questions.
Sure.
Because she's the one that communicates with everyone. So this is going to be, and I'm guessing you're going to explain this is going to be a rollout phase, so it's not going to be all at one time. Okay,
Yeah,
go ahead.
we'll roll this out.
Thank you.
One of the key pieces of this as well, you see on there preferred to have a platform for message archiving. This is something we talked about a lot, to be able to have a way that parents know that things are, in the way that communication is flowing. There's a piece of this called Student Square that a coach, a teacher, an adult can communicate, but it's under the umbrella and under a platform that it's archived. For the protection of everyone involved, so that families understand, and that as administrators and staff, that there is an archiving to this that we can see and parents can understand, and there's a record of what's being sent. I think that is one of the things that over time we have been most concerned about, is not being able to provide that kind of platform, so that whether it's texting or things of that sort, that there isn't that kind of a layer of protection for, like I say, for the employee and the family. And so this will allow us to do that as well. Implementation, Mr. Golden, you mentioned, and yes, the phase-in of this. They are really at the ready right now to help us begin this rollout. There's a wide range of collateral that they provide. There's a transition team that we will utilize with Parent Square. We have local folks as well. Johnson City has gone through this in the last couple of years. We've already had conversations with them as far as lessons learned on what's gone well with the implementation, what we need to learn. And so what we would do, and one of the reasons why we're coming to you tonight, is so that we can get your approval before the school year ends, so that we can start the process with our folks as well. There is also a BMA approval to this because it's a multi-year agreement. So it has to go to the BMA. If we had waited till our regular meeting, we would have missed that window before the school year ends to be able to start rolling this out. So that's kind of the reason why we're doing this tonight. And so there's a lot of things that we want to be able to put in place once all these approvals are done by the time school ends this year. This gives you a little bit of a look at the timeline of where we've looked at across the board. Again, as we've even before this, been looking at various platforms. I started sharing information really late in the spring of this year. as we've gone through, this process. Mr. Nash mentioned, we've talked about this at leadership team meeting. We've had conversations with key stakeholders that are across the district, getting information from them to be able to know how do we best implement this. This is going to impact a lot of people. We want to make sure we do this right. Again, if we decide to go this route from your standpoint, from an approval standpoint, we would execute this agreement and begin rollout before the school year ends. Really wanting to make sure, because there are so many folks over the summer that would utilize this, that we can begin working with those folks that are summer athletes, summer activities, and then really go into full implementation as we roll into the fall. Costs, I know, may be a question that you have. So again, based on our thresholds here, this is being purchased on the TIPS purchasing agreement, but it is a 3-year agreement, which is why it's got to go before the BMA. This is, it's about a little more than, probably about close to twice what we're currently paying for School Messenger. But the suite of what this provides when it comes to, again, the attendance tracking, when it comes to the flexibility to have the translations, when it comes to the ability to have a secure communication platform and environment, we think is really well worth the cost to be able to have those kind of safeguards in place, to have those kind of attendance supports as well. And really at this point, I also want to turn over to Matthew as we go kind of through this, some of the key takeaways. I think that really sold us in many ways, because what it's able to do and what it's able to do from an attendance support standpoint. And Matthew can speak to that.
So I think from an intervention standpoint, what we're doing now is it's pretty much one-to-one. So we're looking at spreadsheets, reports that are generated out of Aspen. Then you're going to your text messaging app or your work cell, and you're having to type a message to one parent at a time, right? So then you've got to go back to Aspen and then turn around and document that. So it takes, by the end of the year, our person at Dobbins-Bennett has an 8-page report, right, that she has to go through at least 2 to 3 times a week. That is not, it's not productive, right? And so what this does is, with filters built into the Attendance Plus dashboard, you can isolate students who haven't had Tier 1 interventions, who haven't had Tier 2 interventions. You can select that entire group, and they all get a personal message, and then they can all respond to the person who sent it. Okay, and they're not responding to the entire group. It's just 2-way communication. It would eliminate the need for text messaging apps and things like that. It'll be better for earlier communication in terms of like, hey, did you know you have 3 parent notes? Please contact us as soon as possible. My staff spends a ridiculous amount of time just trying to collect notes from parents, which is not, those are things that could happen at the school level if they had a faster way to start intervening. It also has the ability to, you can filter down like who only had 2 or fewer absences this 9 weeks. You can filter down and send all those parents a really positive message, right? Which I think means a lot to the parents I work with. But from an intervention standpoint, it will radically change the way that we do business. Once the attendance letter process goes in there, this will be a one-stop shop for attendance. All those text messages, the replies are all saved. So there's not a need to go back to another platform and then turn around and document what we sent, what the response was. And we don't have to come up with something original. They have hundreds of research-based templates that you can paste in, and then it pulls the data in and personalizes the message. So for us, which is a big deal, because right now we're copying and pasting from phone to a messaging app, like it's just not, it's not a great use of time.
So you're saying, as far as sending out for in the field in which you're working with the truancy, or that, does it work on the inbound? Like if I have an excuse for my child that I need to send to the school, can you use this same messenger app, or can a parent excuse an absence through this?
Yes.
Will that be intuitive, or is this going to be like, that's the other thing is, like, I'm wondering, there's going to be a learning curve for parents. Okay, so is there a resource, or is like a help on the app for the parents? Because I got a feeling they're going to end up calling the school a lot more to say, I don't know how to use this app.
That is one of the things I think that when we have dug into the implementation, the launch kit that they have, everything from video training that parents can have access to hard copy collaterals, posters, QR codes to get more information. That is so robust here. Certainly we're going to customize. Mary Beth and I have had conversations about that, how we need to customize and make it ours, but all of that stuff exists. And is really one of the other things that really sold us on this was the high level of support in that implementation. Because I think you're right, that's going to be the key, is how do we train our people, our parents, in a way that this becomes more familiar, because it is a shift and it's going to impact theoretically every family. Family wouldn't have to, for instance, they wouldn't necessarily have to use the app if they don't want to. They could still, get a phone call from us on a snowy morning. That kind of thing exists, but they can also, for instance, get a push notification on the app if they have chosen to go in and do that. There are ways that the end user can customize the way they receive information. If they don't want to get information from a coach and a teacher and an activity director whenever they could say, send them to me all at 6 o'clock, and then get them all at one time. So there's a level of customization on that on the end user part as well that I think is going to be a plus that families can utilize that if they choose to.
The other thing I would add too is that on the attendance dashboard, from an administrator's perspective, they can, if you want an attendance report from Aspen, it is cumbersome to run, and you can only run it at certain times of the month, right? So you can do the math in your head, but in terms of this, what it does is it shows you what your trends are. You can pick whatever section of days you want. Am I trending up? Are we trending down, right? Like, who are the students that need the most, who need intervention the soonest? Like, who are our highest priority, our highest need students? So it's just, again, a quicker way than having to stare at a PDF report and then go back to Aspen and start looking at those students one-to-one. It shows them all to you right at the same time, and you can quickly send a message out to those folks.
Well, first of all, I'm so glad you're here that we can say thank you to you, because you are doing yeoman's work forever and ever and ever. And so thank you and your team. I know it's not just you.
We appreciate that.
For what you do to try to get our kids in school and identify those who are not coming to school. And I think this seems very powerful. The little bit that you're sharing here, it seems extremely powerful, and anything that we can do to help with that, because it's a serious issue. Truancy and absenteeism, we talk about that a lot, and anything we can do to help alleviate that workload. A couple things. So I assume you're going to have training on the website.
Correct.
For parents, so that would be available. And then, would this also be adequate to provide for the juvenile court system? I know there are times that you have to
Are you
go.
asking for, like, reporting, for immediate reporting to provide to juvenile court? Is that what you're asking?
Well, I know that there's a lot of work that goes into documenting information on students who have an issue with chronic absenteeism. And I know you put a lot of work into that, and sometimes it gets ignored, which is, I know, extremely frustrating for you, because it's very frustrating for us. So I apologize, and I know there's nothing we can do to correct that except vote in 2 more years. However, would this help you in having to create the documentation you need to go to juvenile court?
It absolutely would, and what it would do is it would document the message we send, the fact that we got no reply or that we did get a reply, what kind of engagement we've had. So I feel like it would help. Now, is it going to help the outcome at the courthouse? I don't know the answer to that question. I'm of the mind these days that is something I don't control, and so what I control is the interventions we provide, like trying to build relationships with students and parents. And so I have 3 staff, they're part-time, and they're all bought in, right? Like, we have a social work mindset, and so that's what we're trying to do, is build relationship. This will help that, in my opinion. Because what we have found is they won't respond to letters. They're a waste of time. They don't typically respond to phone calls. They sometimes will answer the door when we go out in the community and knock on the doors. But what we have found to be most effective is a text message.
Okay.
They will respond to a text message.
It's funny that you say that, because last week we had a frustrating week as a board legislatively, and someone said to me, I said, well, I'm doing this, but I don't think it'll make it one bit of difference. And he said, just because someone else doesn't do their job doesn't mean you shouldn't do yours. And that really has set, it's really kind of stayed with me. And so we appreciate what you do and your staff, if you would just pass that along to them. And we have tried to advocate for that, even with our legislators, and we haven't we won't quit trying, but thank you for what you do. And this sounds like an amazing tool. I think it is not cheap. It does have a fairly hefty price tag, but to get everything under one umbrella for the safety of our students, the safety of our staff and coaches and everything else, I think that's worth a lot personally. And the fact that it's archived, and there will have to be, you know, a mindset change even for our people as well as our families. And but it sounds very powerful.
You mentioned costs. I had written that we're right now just under 26,000 is what we spend every year on just School Messenger. So you can make that comparison.
So we're only guaranteed these prices through 2029.
3 years, correct.
June 29.
It's a 3-year agreement.
Okay.
June. Andy has done a lot of had a lot of conversations with him about the technical aspect as far as integrating with Aspen. Is there anything you want to add to that, Mr. Arnold?
No, I mean, they've been very, you know, we're not the first school system that has implemented this platform. So there have been other Aspen districts, but we've had multiple conversations with them about the integration on the back end, and we feel very good about that. So no concerns on our end. I think you spoke to the safety piece, and that's what my selling point, if you would say, to this is, I think that's the key to that for me, is I think this system creates a more safe environment for our staff and our students to communicate. But from a technical aspect, no, we feel good about it. Yeah.
Ms. Kinch has dug a lot into the communication side, the training side. Things you want to add?
Sure. So as Andy mentioned a little while ago, there's a full toolkit of resources for implementation. There's also staff with Parent Square that will work with us during that implementation process. Like already mentioned, there's video tutorials, a ton of collateral that we will brand for KCS. So, I mean, we feel good about the rollout to our employees that will use it during the summer, to our families who will use it during the summer, and then when we do the rollout after July 1, when our technology transfers over with our new families. So, yeah.
I've gotten updates from my wife on questions. Is this going to replace all email?
No, it would not replace all.
Okay, so if you want to communicate with a teacher, is that still through email or is that through this app?
Be able to do both.
Okay, so then is it going to be required that the teacher check both of those, the email and this app, and look to respond to both? Like, is there going to be a requirement aspect of that?
I think that's going to be as we start having trainings with our staff, the best way to facilitate that. You're asking a very specific question, certainly, which I get. I think, yes, the expectation is that our teachers are going to be able to get information through this two-way platform. But again, they're kind of already working that way when it comes to things like Dojo and things, that way as well.
I was going to say Canvas is a similar communication tool. And what they do, they get a copy of the Canvas message in their email inbox.
Okay.
So I would feel pretty confident that this would operate in a similar manner. Does that make sense?
Yes. So then when they hit reply, it could go
Yeah,
back to
it will go back through that platform, yeah.
Okay. Are children able to message each other directly through this app?
No, they cannot.
Okay. I told you she wrote.
I looked.
She gave me
It's
tons of
funny.
questions.
We watched a tutorial on that just specifically the other day. Student Square. It can go from like coach to student, but student to student. It's not something.
Perfect. Okay, that's it. Thank you. You've answered all of them.
Over 7,000 kids, our safety is delegated to us every single day whenever their parents send their kids to school. So that's our number one concern. In a time in the world where teachers have the ability, coaches have the ability to communicate with students, athletes on a number of platforms. Sometimes lines get crossed, things get blurred, and situations happen that should sometimes are, unconscionable, should never happen. Are we going to, if this is going to be what we establish as the district-wide communication, do we need board policy to adhere to the compliance?
I think we could certainly have that conversation. That has not been something we've specifically talked about to this point, as far as policy.
I think that's an excellent point. If this is truly going to be our platform and we're doing it for the safety of our staff and our students, then we want people to adhere to that. It's for a reason. It's not to try to, patrol anybody or anything like that. It's for safety, and that's an excellent point. I hadn't even thought about it.
Well, we'll be introducing this communication platform. The other platforms are not going away, and they'll still have them on their phones, students, coaches, teachers alike. And the opportunity to communicate through them will still be there.
So that's a serious concern I have, is we have so many apps, and the whole reason we're doing this is to do away with the other apps, in which case it will require a policy to force, and I hate to say the word, but it's going to have to force the shutdown of those apps in order to be able to be compliant within this app. If that's what we're doing this for, if we're doing it to put it all underneath one roof, so we have records, we have compliance, we have safety mechanisms, then those other ones have to go away. We can't, because like the band app, that's kids can text kids because they're student leadership. And so I don't know how the student leadership would be able to communicate from this to other kids, considering it's initiating from a kid. Like that would need to be worked out.
We'll have to look into that.
Yeah, and so there has to be, but if we're going to do that, then then everyone will have to abandon those others, which means the teachers and the coaches and everyone will have to stop using that in order for that to go away. I think that may require policy.
When adults are doing the work of the school system, this is the platform that must be used because it documents and archives the communication. And quite honestly, adults should not be communicating with students otherwise, only when doing the work of the district.
Oftentimes, when there's no boundaries, specifically with policy, sometimes people will extend and push out. So that's the only reason I asked. That's the only reason. So we can have that discussion, but I think it's something to consider for sure. Any other questions? Discussion? No? All right. The recommended action is to enter into agreement and purchase and implement Parent Square as Kingsport City Schools district-wide communications portal. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Okay. Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thanks again. Really.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you so much.